Okay, guys, so here is another video. It's funny, people always have different opinions about the hot and the cold and what they prefer. I do love living in Florida, but sometimes the heat gets old and the humidity gets old. If you started your null school Earth homework already, you found that there is actually such a thing as a misery index, and I think that's kind of funny, like how miserable is it to live in certain places. I think some people would definitely argue that Florida can be miserable, and while I like it, I might agree with them. Okay, so a lot of this should be review from Earth Science in seventh grade, but there are a lot of misconceptions about this. So, how many ways does the Earth move? It moves three ways. We rotate, so that means we spin on our axis, or the Earth spins on its axis. And I'm not there. Obviously, I would have a globe, and we would talk about this more. And there's actually experiments you can do with this, but it rotates on an axis. Um, and it does that every 24 hours. Actually, technically, it's 23 hours and 56 minutes. That's why we just had fall back this weekend, because that change, that 4 minutes, um, affects our time over time. So we have to like adjust for it, and that's why our calendar isn't perfect. And um, also, why some people argue about the age of the earth, because our calendar is not perfect and our 24-hour period is not perfect, really, with what the earth is doing. Okay, but anyway, so we rotate our axis. That's the first way. The second way is we revolve. We revolve around the sun, and that takes us 365 days. And once again, that's not exact, but pretty close. And then the third is we are tilted. And the earth actually wobbles, and this tilt has changed over the years. Not in our lifetime, of course, but there is a change in the earth. But 23 and a half degrees is very important to what we're going to talk about. So these three motions and then our atmospheric conditions, these are what affects our seasons. Um, Huge misconception. People think that it has to do with distance from the sun. It is not at all distance from the sun. It is how much energy we are receiving. So you think of energy as waves. Lights travel in waves. The radiation travels in waves. And those waves spread out because Earth is round. So they hit the Earth at different points. Feel free to pause this if you haven't got all the notes. Here we go. So here's what I'm trying to get you to see, and I would definitely show you with a flashlight if I were there. But if you can picture a flashlight, so if the sun is right here, it's not a great sun, but if the sun is right here, um, the energy is that's traveling is most direct when it hits the equator. When it goes this way, that energy is more spread out because Earth is round. And so that's why we have different amounts of energy as you move further away from the equator. Is it's not the distance they are, it's the amount of energy that's distributed among that region of the earth. And that is what causes our seasons. So you think about it, there's a lot happening, right? So the earth is spinning on its axis or rotating while it revolves around the sun at this 23 and a half degrees tilt. And that is why we have seasons. I'm going to try to play this. I don't know if I'll be able to play it and include it in the video. If not, let's see if I can do this. It is not going to let me play it. So pause the video, go back to Canvas, and I will have it linked below. So you can pause this, watch this fantastic Bill Nye video, and then come back to my lecture. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I talked about this, I think, in the last video on the first one that you watched, but you do need to know the difference between weather and climate. Weather is short term, day to day. I don't think a lot of people really think much about the difference between weather and climate, but there's a big difference. So it's what's happening day to day. Did it rain? Is it hot? Is it cold? What's the pressure? things like that. What's the wind speed like? Climate is the average, the pattern of what is happening in a certain region. So, if I said I was from Canada, you might immediately think cold, right? Because it's cold up there. That doesn't mean it's always cold. The day-to-day changes, but climate is the pattern, the general pattern. And in case you can't remember, here's a quote for you. And I do believe that that is it for solar radiation and Earth seasons. Pretty simple. All right. Thanks, guys.